When we think about testosterone, most people imagine it as just the male hormone, the driver of muscles, sex drive, and strength. But here's something many men over 50 don't realize: testosterone is not just about sexual health. It is deeply tied to mood, motivation, bone density, cardiovascular health, and even cognitive clarity. Low testosterone can feel like fatigue that never lifts, a fading spark in intimacy, or a quiet loss of vitality that many men silently accept as just getting older. But aging and decline are not the same thing. Now, here's the surprising truth: something as simple as the nuts you snack on could either support or sabotage your testosterone levels. Yes, those handfuls of almonds, peanuts, or walnuts that you toss into your diet may actually be shifting your hormone balance in ways most people have never considered. I often hear in clinic, "Doc, I thought all nuts were healthy, packed with protein, good fats, fiber. How could they possibly be hurting me?" And the truth is, some nuts are absolutely fantastic for hormone health. But others, because of their fatty acid composition, phytoestrogen content, or effects on sex hormone binding globulin, may actually suppress testosterone production, especially in men over 50 when levels are already naturally declining. And before women tune out, thinking this is only for men, stay with me. Many women I see in my clinic have partners struggling with hormone changes, intimacy, or energy loss. Understanding the role of food, especially in something as simple as daily snacking, can transform a couple's shared health journey. And remember, women have testosterone too, just in smaller amounts, and it plays a vital role in libido, energy, and bone strength. So today, we're going to break this down clearly and without judgment. We'll explore 4 nuts that tend to work against your testosterone and 4 that can give it a powerful boost. Along the way, I'll show you what the research says, what's myth versus fact, and what practical steps you can take starting today. You are not broken. Your body isn't failing you, it's just misunderstood. And once you understand how these foods interact with your hormones, you'll feel empowered to make choices that truly support your energy, intimacy, and vitality for decades to come. Let's start with one of the most surprising entries on this list: walnuts. For years, walnuts have been celebrated as a superfood. They're rich in omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and fiber. Cardiologists often recommend them for heart health. But here's where things get complicated. When we shift our focus from cardiovascular wellness to testosterone health, walnuts may not be the best friend of the aging male hormone system. In 2010, a study published in Biology of Reproduction found that high intake of polyunsaturated fatty acids, especially those found in walnuts and similar nuts, could reduce testosterone synthesis in the testes. Why? Because testosterone is made from cholesterol, and certain polyunsaturated fats, when consumed in excess, can alter the enzymes involved in that process. Think of it this way: if testosterone production is like baking bread, the body needs yeast, flour, and heat to rise properly. Walnuts add a lot of moisture to the dough, and too much can flatten the rise. This doesn't mean walnuts are dangerous or toxic. They're wonderful for brain health and lowering bad cholesterol. But in the context of testosterone, particularly in men over 50 who already have age-related declines, overdoing walnuts can create a subtle but noticeable dip in free testosterone. Another factor is that walnuts can increase levels of sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG. This is the protein that binds testosterone in the blood, locking it away so it can't be used by your tissues. Imagine SHBG as the parking attendant that takes your testosterone, drives it into a garage, and keeps the keys. Your hormone is technically there but unavailable. Now, some of you may be thinking, "But I thought nuts were heart healthy. Should I cut walnuts out completely?" The answer is no. It's about balance. In fact, the Mayo Clinic reminds us that walnuts, when eaten in moderation, can reduce cardiovascular disease risk. But here's the nuance for a man over 50 struggling with fatigue, low libido, or muscle loss. Walnuts shouldn't be the primary nut in his daily diet. Think of them as an occasional heart-healthy garnish, not a hormone staple. This is something I hear often in clinic. I'm doing everything right, eating nuts, cutting sugar, exercising, but I still feel sluggish. And when we look closely, sometimes the healthy foods are working at cross purposes. It's not about villainizing walnuts, it's about aligning food choices with the outcomes you care about most. If testosterone vitality is your goal, you may want to prioritize other nuts that support rather than suppress androgen production. So here's a practical takeaway. If you enjoy walnuts, keep them to small portions, maybe a handful a few times a week, not daily. Pair them with testosterone-friendly foods like pumpkin seeds or Brazil nuts, which we'll discuss later. And if you're someone who feels consistently drained despite a clean diet, consider whether your nut choices could be nudging your hormones in the wrong direction. Have you ever noticed how even small dietary changes can shift your energy? Sometimes what seems trivial, like which nut mix you snack on, can quietly influence your hormone balance. That's why knowledge is power here. And if this resonates, drop a comment below. You're not alone if you've been surprised by how healthy foods sometimes have hidden trade-offs. This channel is all about clarity without shame because you deserve to feel informed and in control of your health. The second nut on our list is actually not a true nut at all, but a legume, the peanut. And while peanuts are affordable, tasty, and packed into everything from snack mixes to protein bars, they carry some unique concerns for men over 50 when it comes to testosterone health. On the surface, peanuts seem like a great choice. They contain protein, some healthy fats, and even resveratrol, the same antioxidant compound found in red wine. But here's the hidden issue. Peanuts are relatively high in omega-6 fatty acids compared to omega-3s. This imbalance, especially when peanuts are eaten in large amounts, can increase systemic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is one of the quiet enemies of testosterone. Think of testosterone production in the testes like a factory line. Inflammation is like constant small fires breaking out along the assembly line. Workers are distracted, production slows down, and output drops. That's what happens inside the Leydig cells of the testes when inflammatory signals are elevated. The machinery of hormone production sputters. Another issue with peanuts is their phytoestrogen content. While not nearly as strong as soy, peanuts contain plant-based compounds that can mimic estrogen in the body. In moderation, these are unlikely to cause major changes. But for men already experiencing age-related drops in testosterone, layering on additional estrogen-like influences can tilt the hormonal balance further away from optimal. Studies published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism have shown that even modest increases in estrogenic activity can raise SHBG, the binding protein that locks away testosterone, and reduce the availability of free testosterone. Now, does this mean you should never touch peanuts again? Not necessarily. Like walnuts, moderation is the key. A small serving occasionally won't destroy your hormone health. But where I see problems is when peanuts or peanut butter become a daily staple, breakfast toast, protein shakes, evening snacks. Over time, this consistent exposure can blunt testosterone function, and men may notice subtle but frustrating symptoms, loss of morning erections, slower muscle recovery after workouts, or a flatness in mood and motivation. There's also the consideration of how peanuts are usually eaten. Salted, roasted in seed oils, coated with sugar or honey, these additives amplify inflammation, which doubles down on the testosterone-suppressing effects. The Cleveland Clinic has long warned that the quality of fats we consume matters just as much as the quantity, and peanuts are often delivered in the least hormone-friendly way possible. So what's the takeaway here? If you love peanuts, treat them like a treat, not a staple. Swap peanut butter for almond butter, pistachio butter, or even tahini. If you do choose peanuts, go for raw or dry roasted unsalted and keep the serving small. And importantly, balance your omega-6 intake with omega-3 rich foods like salmon, flaxseed, or chia seeds to calm inflammation. This is something I often remind my patients. Your body isn't broken, it's just responding to the inputs you give it. Sometimes, by making one small switch, like swapping your daily peanut butter toast for a testosterone friendly alternative, you can notice meaningful changes in energy, libido, and mental clarity within weeks. Have you ever noticed your body feels different when you switch up your snacks? These little choices stack up, and the goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Once you know how peanuts may affect your hormones, you can decide when they're worth it and when to reach for something better. And if you're finding these insights useful, make sure to subscribe. That way, you'll always have grounded, evidence based guidance without the confusion or fear mongering. This one surprises a lot of people because almonds are often marketed as the ultimate health nut. They're recommended for weight management, cholesterol control, and even blood sugar balance. And all of that is true. Almonds are nutrient dense, loaded with vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats. But here's the nuance: when it comes to testosterone, almonds may actually be working against you. Several studies, including one published in Hormone and Metabolic Research, have shown that almonds can increase sex hormone binding globulin SHBG. Remember, SHBG is that protein that binds testosterone, carrying it through the bloodstream but locking it away so your tissues can't use it. So even if your total testosterone level looks normal on a blood test, your free testosterone, the form that actually powers libido, muscle, and vitality, can drop if SHBG is too high. Think of it like this: if testosterone is money in your bank account, SHBG is the savings lockbox that tucks most of it away. You still have the money, but you can't spend it. That's what almonds may be doing to your hormones, boosting SHBG and reducing what's available for your body to actually use. Why does this happen? Almonds are particularly rich in monounsaturated fats and certain phytonutrients that seem to stimulate liver production of SHBG. For younger men, this may not be a big issue. But for men over 50, when natural testosterone production is already lower, even a modest rise in SHBG can tip the scales toward low energy, low libido symptoms. This doesn't mean almonds are bad. Far from it. They support heart health, help lower LDL cholesterol, and provide minerals like magnesium that are essential for hundreds of cellular reactions. But if your main concern is preserving testosterone vitality, almonds may not be your best everyday snack. I often tell patients it's not about whether almonds are good or bad, it's about whether they're right for your specific goal. Another factor to consider is quantity. A small handful of almonds once in a while is unlikely to make a noticeable dent in testosterone. But daily, high-volume almond snacking, especially almond butter or almond milk as staples, can start to shift hormone balance subtly but meaningfully. So what's the practical takeaway? If you enjoy almonds, keep portions modest and rotate your nut choices. Don't let almonds become your exclusive health snack. And if you're someone who's struggling with classic low T symptoms, low motivation, softer muscle tone, reduced morning erections, it may be worth experimenting with cutting back on almonds for a month to see how you feel. This is something I hear in clinic all the time. I thought I was eating clean, but I still feel sluggish. Sometimes the foods that look the cleanest on paper aren't aligned with your unique hormonal needs. And there's no shame in that, it's just information. Once you understand how almonds may interact with SHBG and testosterone, you can make choices that keep your energy and vitality where you want them. And if you've ever wondered whether your healthy habits might be secretly holding you back, let me reassure you, your body isn't failing. It's simply reacting to what you give it. Knowledge allows you to fine-tune, not overhaul. Cashews are one of the most popular snack nuts out there. They're creamy, delicious, and often feel like a healthier indulgence compared to chips or sweets. But when it comes to testosterone health, especially in men over 50, cashews carry some hidden baggage. Cashews are relatively high in omega-6 fatty acids. And just like with peanuts, this creates a challenge for hormone balance. When omega-6 intake outweighs omega-3 intake, the body tilts toward inflammation. And chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the most consistent drivers of declining testosterone production. The Leydig cells in the testes, the cells responsible for producing testosterone, are especially sensitive to oxidative stress and inflammatory signals. Think of those cells like delicate machinery in a factory. Too much rust from inflammation gums up the gears and output drops. Over time, that rust not only lowers testosterone, but can also affect sperm quality and overall reproductive health. Another issue with cashews is their mineral profile. On the surface, they provide beneficial nutrients like copper, magnesium, and zinc. But the zinc content in cashews is lower compared to testosterone-boosting nuts like Brazil nuts or pumpkin seeds. And zinc is one of the most critical minerals for testosterone production. Deficiency is directly linked to reduced levels, and supplementation has been shown in multiple studies, including research from nutrition and biological trace element research, to restore testosterone in deficient men. Here's the problem. Many men think they're covering their bases with cashews, not realizing they're getting more copper than zinc. And high copper intake, especially without enough zinc to balance it, can actually interfere with testosterone production. It's like tipping the scale. When copper outweighs zinc, hormonal balance shifts in the wrong direction. Now, does this mean you should never eat cashews again? Not at all. Cashews can still be part of a balanced diet. They support heart health, provide plant-based protein, and are certainly better than ultra-processed snacks. But if your goal is specifically to optimize testosterone after 50, cashews should not be your go-to nut. Instead, think of them as an occasional treat, a sprinkle on a salad, a handful here and there, but not the foundation of your daily nut intake. One practical tip: if you enjoy cashews, pair them with zinc-rich foods to help balance their copper load. Foods like pumpkin seeds, oysters, or even lean beef can help restore that zinc to copper ratio in favor of testosterone. And if you're curious about your own levels, a simple blood test can reveal whether your zinc or copper balance might be affecting your hormones. This is something I often remind patients. It's not about eliminating pleasure from your diet. It's about being intentional. You don't have to banish cashews. You just need to know their place. Hormone health is about patterns, not perfection. And the more you understand which nuts support versus suppress your testosterone, the more you can make confident choices without second guessing. So let's take a step back. We've now covered the 4 nuts most likely to suppress testosterone in men over 50: walnuts, peanuts, almonds, and cashews. Each one has health benefits, but they also carry specific drawbacks when your goal is hormone vitality. And here's the exciting part. Not all nuts are problematic. In fact, several are powerful allies in boosting testosterone naturally, and that's where we're heading next. The 4 nuts that support your hormones, energy, and vitality. If there's one nut that stands out above the rest when it comes to testosterone support, it's the Brazil nut. And the reason is a powerful trace mineral. Most people never think about: selenium. Brazil nuts are the richest known food source of selenium, a mineral that plays a critical role in hormone balance, sperm production, and antioxidant defense. In fact, just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts can provide more than 100% of your daily selenium requirement. And when it comes to testosterone, selenium is like the spark plug in an engine. Without it, the machinery simply doesn't run at full capacity. Research backs this up. A study in the Journal of Urology found that selenium supplementation improved sperm motility and testosterone levels in men with fertility challenges. Another trial published in Biological Trace Element Research showed that men with higher selenium status had significantly better testosterone and reproductive outcomes than men with deficiencies. But selenium doesn't just help testosterone production, it also protects the testes themselves. The Leydig cells that make testosterone are vulnerable to oxidative stress, especially as we age. Selenium acts like an antioxidant shield, reducing the cellular rust that can interfere with hormone output. Think of it as a protective coat of armor for the testosterone factory. Now, here's where we need nuance. Selenium is incredibly powerful, but more is not always better. Just 2 Brazil nuts a day is usually enough to meet your needs. Consistently eating large handfuls can actually push selenium into toxic levels, which may cause problems like hair loss, brittle nails, or digestive upset. The key is moderation, targeted, intentional doses rather than mindless snacking. In my clinic, I often remind men it's not about chasing the biggest dose, it's about finding the right dose. 1 or 2 Brazil nuts daily paired with other testosterone-friendly foods is enough to give your body what it needs without overshooting. And here's a tip: pair Brazil nuts with a source of healthy fat, like a little avocado or olive oil, to enhance absorption. Selenium is fat soluble, so this simple trick can help your body make the most of what you're eating. For men over 50, adding Brazil nuts into the routine can be a game changer. Many report not only improved energy and libido, but also subtle shifts in mood and resilience. Because when your testosterone is better supported, your whole system, from muscles to mind. So here's your practical takeaway. Keep a small jar of Brazil nuts at home. Reach for just 1 or 2 a day, not more. Let them be your daily testosterone booster rather than an occasional treat. And remember, this is one of those rare cases where food can act almost like medicine, delivering a clinically meaningful nutrient in a single bite. Have you ever noticed how something so small can make such a big difference? That's the magic of nutrition. And it's a reminder that your body isn't broken, it just needs the right tools. Pistachios are more than just a fun snack to crack open. They're one of the most clinically studied nuts when it comes to male sexual health and hormone support. In fact, a landmark study published in the International Journal of Impotence Research found that men who ate about 100 grams of pistachios daily for 3 weeks experienced significant improvements in erectile function, cholesterol profiles, and overall sexual satisfaction. And yes, testosterone was part of that improvement. Why are pistachios so special? First, they are rich in arginine, an amino acid that the body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the molecule that relaxes blood vessels, improving circulation. Better circulation doesn't just support erections. It also enhances delivery of nutrients and oxygen to the testes, supporting testosterone production. Think of arginine as the oil that keeps the vascular pipes running smoothly, allowing the hormone factory to stay well supplied. Second, pistachios are loaded with antioxidants, particularly lutein and polyphenols, which reduce oxidative stress. Remember, testosterone-producing cells in the testes are vulnerable to oxidative damage. By lowering that stress, pistachios help keep production steady and efficient. Third, pistachios support cholesterol balance. Since testosterone is made from cholesterol, men need the right balance of HDL, good cholesterol, to fuel production. Pistachios improve HDL while lowering LDL, essentially tuning up the raw material supply chain for testosterone. Now, some men worry that pistachios, like other nuts, are high in fat and calories, but research consistently shows that moderate pistachio consumption does not lead to weight gain. In fact, because they're high in protein and fiber, they can help with satiety and weight control, and maintaining a healthy weight is one of the most important natural ways to keep testosterone levels higher. A practical tip: reach for pistachios in their shells. Not only are they less processed, but shelling them slows you down, making it easier to enjoy a satisfying portion without overdoing calories. Aim for a small handful, about 1 to 2 ounces, a few times a week. This is something I hear from patients all the time. I thought erections and libido were just about testosterone pills or medications, but the truth is circulation, oxidative stress, and cholesterol balance all play into hormone health. Pistachios happen to support all 3 naturally. So if you're over 50 and looking for a nut that boosts testosterone and sexual vitality in a well-rounded way, pistachios deserve a permanent spot in your pantry. And if you're finding these kinds of nutrition insights helpful, make sure to subscribe because when it comes to men's and women's health, the details matter, and I want you to have clarity without confusion. Hazelnuts are often overlooked. Most people associate them with desserts. Think chocolate spreads or holiday treats, rather than daily nutrition. But when you strip away the sugar and enjoy them in their natural form, hazelnuts are a quiet powerhouse for men's hormone health. A study published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition looked at the effect of hazelnuts, almonds, and walnuts on men's health. While walnuts and almonds, as we discussed earlier, raised SHBG and could lower free testosterone, hazelnuts stood out differently. They improved antioxidant status, heart health, and provided key micronutrients linked to testosterone production without the same drawbacks. One reason hazelnuts support testosterone is their rich content of monounsaturated fats. Unlike almonds, hazelnuts don't seem to push SHBG levels upward as strongly. Instead, they provide a steady, hormone-friendly fat profile that helps stabilize testosterone production. Remember, testosterone is built from cholesterol, and hazelnuts help provide the right kind of building blocks. Hazelnuts are also high in vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant that protects cell membranes, including the delicate Leydig cells in the testes. In men over 50, oxidative stress is one of the main reasons testosterone output declines more steeply. Vitamin E acts like a shield, reducing that wear and tear. Several studies, including work published in Andrologia, show that men with higher vitamin E status have better testosterone and fertility outcomes than those who are deficient. Another benefit? Hazelnuts are rich in magnesium, and magnesium has been repeatedly linked with higher free testosterone levels. A study from Biological Trace Element Research found that men who supplemented magnesium saw an increase in both total and free testosterone, especially if they were physically active. Hazelnuts deliver this mineral naturally in a form the body can absorb well. Here's a practical way to use hazelnuts. Try a small handful alongside fruit or blend them into a smoothie as hazelnut butter. Just make sure it's unsweetened. Skip the sugary spreads and candy versions because added sugar and processed oils can cancel out the hormonal benefits. This is something I often remind patients. It's not just about which nut you eat, it's also about how it's prepared. Roasted, salted, sugar-coated versions often undo the benefits. Raw or dry roasted, unsalted hazelnuts are where the real hormonal advantage lies. For men over 50, hazelnuts can be a supportive ally, not just for testosterone, but for heart and brain health as well. And since cardiovascular health and testosterone are so closely connected, adding hazelnuts into your routine helps on multiple levels. So the takeaway here, don't overlook hazelnuts. They may not be the flashy superfood you hear about every day, but they're one of the most balanced, hormone-friendly nuts you can eat. A handful, a few times a week, can be a small but meaningful way to keep your testosterone factory running more smoothly. Have you ever noticed how the simplest, least hyped foods are often the most sustainable ones? Hazelnuts are a great example of that, quietly powerful, supportive, and steady. Macadamia nuts may not be as common in your pantry as almonds or peanuts, but when it comes to testosterone health, they deserve special attention. These rich, buttery nuts are unique because of their fat profile, and that's exactly why they can support hormone balance in men over 50. Macadamias are extremely high in monounsaturated fats and very low in polyunsaturated fats. Why does this matter? Testosterone production depends on cholesterol and stable fat metabolism. Too many polyunsaturated fats, like those found in walnuts or cashews, can make testosterone production less efficient. But the fats in macadamia nuts provide a steady, hormone-friendly source of energy without tipping the inflammatory balance. Think of macadamias as premium-grade fuel for your hormone factory. They deliver the right kind of oil to keep the engine running smoothly without the oxidative stress that gums up the system. Another advantage of macadamias is that they are low in omega-6 fatty acids. This is rare among nuts, which often carry a heavy omega-6 load. By keeping omega-6 low, macadamias help prevent the kind of chronic inflammation that suppresses testosterone. In this way, they act almost like a balancing food, helping to tilt the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio back in your favor. Macadamias are also rich in key minerals like manganese, thiamine, and magnesium. While they don't have the selenium punch of Brazil nuts, their nutrient balance supports overall metabolic health. And metabolism matters because poor metabolic health, insulin resistance, weight gain, high triglycerides is one of the fastest ways testosterone declines in men over 50. There isn't as much direct clinical research on macadamias and testosterone as there is with pistachios or Brazil nuts, but the indirect evidence is strong. Diets higher in monounsaturated fats and lower in polyunsaturated fats are consistently linked with healthier testosterone levels in aging men, and macadamias fit that profile almost perfectly. A practical tip, because macadamias are calorie dense, a little goes a long way. Just 8 nuts can deliver meaningful benefits without overloading on calories. Try them as a midday snack, sprinkle them on a salad, or blend them into a smoothie for a creamy texture. One thing I often tell patients is this: testosterone health isn't about one magic food. It's about patterns of eating that either support or sabotage your hormones. And macadamias are a great example of a food that, when used thoughtfully, aligns beautifully with what your body needs as it ages. So if you've been rotating between almonds and cashews, consider making space for macadamias. Their fat profile alone makes them one of the most testosterone-friendly nuts you can add to your diet. And here's the broader point: small, intentional swaps add up. Choosing macadamias over cashews, Brazil nuts over peanuts, pistachios over almonds, these shifts don't just change your snacks, they change the trajectory of your hormone health over time. We've now covered all 8 nuts, 4 that lower testosterone: walnuts, peanuts, almonds, cashews, and 4 that boost it: Brazil nuts, pistachios, hazelnuts, macadamias. So let's step back and look at the big picture. Over the course of this talk, we've explored how something as simple as the nuts you choose to snack on can play a real role in your hormone health, particularly testosterone, the hormone that shapes energy, drive, muscle, and vitality in men over 50. We identified 4 nuts that tend to work against testosterone. Walnuts, though heart healthy, they raise SHBG and reduce free testosterone. Peanuts, not truly nuts and linked to inflammation, estrogenic effects, and gut issues. Almonds, rich in nutrients but shown to increase SHBG, lowering available testosterone. Cashews, calorie-dense, high in copper and omega-6 fats, which can dampen testosterone when overconsumed. And we also highlighted 4 nuts that support testosterone. Brazil nuts, powerful for their selenium content, protecting testicular function and boosting testosterone. Pistachios, clinically shown to improve testosterone, blood flow, and sexual health markers. Hazelnuts, steady monounsaturated fats, rich in vitamin E and magnesium, protecting Leydig cells and free testosterone. Macadamia nuts, ultra low in omega-6, high in monounsaturated fats, delivering clean, hormone-friendly energy. Here's the takeaway: the difference between lowering and boosting testosterone isn't about whether nuts are good or bad. It's about the details, the type of fats they contain, the minerals they provide, and how they influence SHBG, inflammation, and oxidative stress. For men over 50, this really matters. Testosterone naturally declines with age, about 1% per year after you're mid-30, but diet and lifestyle can either accelerate that decline or slow it down. Choosing the right nuts is one of those small, consistent steps that help slow the downward curve. And remember, it's not about eating huge amounts. A handful a few times a week, thoughtfully rotated, is enough. Too much of even the good nuts can backfire because of calorie overload. Balance is everything. What I want you to take away is this. You are not powerless in the face of aging every single day. With the choices you make, the foods you eat, the movement you commit to, the sleep you protect, you are either signaling your body to preserve testosterone or to let it slip away faster. Nuts are just one piece of the puzzle, but they're a powerful example of how the smallest habits add up. Swap peanuts for pistachios, trade cashews for macadamias, reach for a couple of Brazil nuts instead of another handful of almonds. Over months and years, these swaps protect your hormone balance, your vitality, and your confidence. If you've been feeling low energy, low drive, or weaker than you used to, don't just accept it as getting older. Look at your habits, look at your nutrition, look at the hidden ways your lifestyle may be pulling testosterone down. And then, step by step, start replacing those habits with smarter ones. Your health is in your hands. And the truth is, men who thrive into their 50, 60, and beyond are rarely the ones who found a magic supplement or quick fix. They are the ones who learned the science, applied it consistently, and treated their body with respect. So here's my challenge to you. Starting this week, make one simple swap in your nut intake. Pick one of the testosterone-boosting nuts and add it into your diet while reducing one of the testosterone-lowering ones. Notice how you feel after a few weeks. Energy, clarity, drive, even subtle shifts in mood and motivation. The body responds to what you give it, and when you give it the right fuel, the right fats, the right minerals, the right balance, your hormones respond in kind. Men over 50, you deserve to feel strong, vital, and alive. Don't underestimate the small changes. They are the building blocks of big transformations.